If this video suddenly cuts off, don't try to find me. Don't even look for the game. Please just listen. I don't have long. The screen in front of me hasn't gone dark in 3 days, and every time I blink, I swear the colors move even when the game isn't running. It's like it's watching me, waiting for me to slip, waiting for me to give in. I know how this sounds. If I were you, sitting comfortably, maybe scrolling late at night with your phone too close to your face, I'd laugh too. I used to laugh at stories like this. Weird creepypasta about haunted cartridges, cursed ROMs, games that talk back. Just dumb internet fiction, right? That was me, casual, cynical, convinced that all these horror stories were just for clicks. But then I downloaded this game. There's something inside it, something the devs buried in the code, something I wasn't supposed to see, and now it won't let me stop playing. I'm shaking even saying this out loud, but you need to understand. It isn't just a program. It isn't just data. It knows me. It knows where I live. It knows what I'm afraid of. And if you've ever clicked a link you shouldn't have, if you've ever been curious enough to try something just for fun, then you know how easy it is to make one small mistake that ruins everything. I keep telling myself it started harmless. Just another late-night download from some forgotten forum. Just me, bored, nostalgic for old PC games. Back then, my biggest problem was finding enough hard drive space to install it. Now, my biggest problem is making it through the night without answering when it calls my name. Don't misunderstand me. I don't want sympathy. I want you to listen. Because once I show you what happened, you'll understand why I can't keep this secret anymore. Why I can't just let the next idiot fall into the same trap I did. But I should probably explain how it all started. You know that itch to try something no one talks about? That's how I found it. It was just another quiet night in my apartment, blinds half closed, the hum of my old desktop filling the silence, a half-empty can of soda sweating on the desk. Nothing dramatic, nothing ominous. Just me, alone, killing time the way I always do, wandering through dusty corners of the internet no one bothers to check anymore. I've always had a soft spot for forgotten games. You know the ones I mean. Shareware titles passed around on CDs in the late 90s, glitchy fan projects that vanish from the web as quickly as they appear, half-finished demos that people uploaded to obscure forums before ghosting forever. There's something comforting about them, like digital fossils, tiny worlds frozen in time. I'd scroll through old threads for hours chasing nostalgia. People arguing about the good old days, screenshots of DOS games that barely ran on modern machines, links to long-dead download pages. Most of it was harmless, sometimes even funny. That night was no different. I was just browsing, reminding myself of simpler times, back when the biggest scare was a corrupted floppy disk. But here's the thing, the deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. Every niche community has its legends. In horror forums, it's cursed films. In tech forums, it's lost prototypes. In gaming forums, it's the so-called self-playing games. I'd heard whispers about them before. Threads with titles like "The Game That Beat Me at My Own Life" or "NPCs That Remember You." Always posted by some anonymous user, always deleted a day later. They were usually laughed off, archived as urban legends of the digital age. People joked about AI before AI even existed, like games that knew your name or adapted to your choices even after you closed them. Of course, I didn't buy into it. Why would I? To me, those stories were campfire tales for computer nerds. Fun to read, creepy in theory, but ultimately just code and imagination. A video game can't play itself. At least, that's what I told myself. I don't know why I was restless that night. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was that gnawing need for something different, something I hadn't seen before. Or maybe, if I'm being honest, it was curiosity in its most dangerous form. That little voice in the back of your head that whispers, "What if?" That's when I found the post. It wasn't flashy. No clickbait title, no desperate plea for attention. Just a thread buried 3 layers deep in an abandoned forum. a grainy screenshot of a title screen I didn't recognize, and a single line of text in broken English. It play itself, no need controller. That was it. No context, no description. The replies were a mess of dead links and spam, most of them deleted years ago. But that original screenshot was still there, like it had been waiting. The image wasn't much. A blocky logo in faded colors, pixel art trees in the background. Nothing scary, nothing unusual. But the longer I stared at it, the more it pulled at me. Like déjà vu. Like I'd seen it before, maybe in some forgotten corner of childhood. I should have closed the tab. I should have laughed and moved on like I always did. But instead, my cursor hovered over the only link still alive, tucked in one of the earliest replies. A download link. I remember smirking at myself, shaking my head, even muttering, "Yeah, right, like this even works." But the truth was, I wanted it too. I wanted to see for myself if there was anything behind the myth of the game that plays itself. And with one careless click, I started something I can't undo. The link shouldn't have worked. Honestly, I half expected it to trigger one of those tacky pop-ups screaming, "CONGRATULATIONS, you've won." But instead, my browser just stalled. A blank white page for a moment, then a single file appeared in the bottom corner of my screen. It wasn't zipped, it wasn't an installer, just a raw executable with a name that made no sense. A0N0N-exe. No capital letters, no version number, no indication of a developer. Just nonsense, like someone had mashed a keyboard. I remember staring at it for a full minute. My stomach twisted with that uneasy feeling you get when you're about to click something you know you shouldn't. I thought about deleting it right there, but curiosity, that damned itch, it won. For a moment I felt ridiculous. It was just a file, just data, bits and bytes. Nothing inherently scary about that, right? Still, I wasn't reckless. I messaged my friend Chris on Discord. He was the kind of guy who spent his nights trolling game servers and laughing at scary story posts. If anyone would have fun with this, it was him. Me, yo, you ever hear of a game that plays itself? Chris, law what, like an idle clicker. Me, nah, like literally plays on its own, found a link. Chris, bro, that sounds like malware. You trying to get FBI'd? Me, relax, just looks like some forgotten indie. Chris, send it. If your PC explodes, I wanna watch. I sent him the file name. His reply came back instantly. Chris, Elmow, that's sketchy as hell. What even is a 0N0N? Looks like a password. That comment stuck with me. A password, a key to something. My hand hovered over the mouse, considering the possibilities. I ran a quick scan, nothing flagged. No viruses, no Trojans. As far as my antivirus was concerned, this was a clean program. Still, the whole thing screamed wrong. Broken English, dead forum, cryptic file name. Like it wasn't meant for casual download. Like I'd stumbled across something private. Chris kept egging me on. Chris, do it, coward. What's the worst that happens? Spooky jump scare. Maybe your camera turns on, ooh-oh. I typed back, it's just a file. But even then, the words didn't feel true. It didn't feel like just a file. It felt heavier somehow, like clicking it meant more than just launching a program. I minimized Discord and sat there in the dim glow of my monitor. The clock on my taskbar ticked past midnight. My apartment was quiet, but I swore the fan of my PC had shifted pitch, as though it were waiting. I hovered over the file, my finger twitched on the mouse, and then, without really deciding, I double-clicked. The screen flickered once, then went black. No loading bar, no splash screen, no window asking me where to install. Just black. I thought it had crashed my system, and I was ready to curse myself for being so gullible. Then the speakers crackled. A low, distorted hum filled the room, like old static from a CRT television. Shapes flickered faintly against the black screen, pixels, colors bleeding together. And then, just as suddenly, A crude title screen appeared. The logo was unreadable, jagged letters smeared together as though drawn by someone's shaky hand. Beneath it, in stark white text, was a single prompt. Press nothing. That was it. No start menu, no options. Just those two words daring me. I laughed nervously, screenshotting it for Chris. Me, this is what I got. Press nothing. Chris, okay, that's creepy, but also kinda genius, like it's trolling you. Me, it hasn't crashed yet. Wanna bet it just runs a demo. Chris, bet leave it open, I wanna see. And that's what I did. I left it running, half expecting it to shut itself down after a while. The hum from the speakers softened into something that almost resembled breathing. I convinced myself it was just some audio loop, some unfinished effect. I didn't know it then, but the game wasn't waiting for me to play it. It was waiting to play itself. When the title screen finally shifted, I almost laughed. The game looked stupid. There's no polite way to say it. The graphics were so crude they made Atari games look polished. A jagged forest background, the same 3 pixelated trees copy-pasted into infinity, and a little blocky character wobbling in place like it was animated by a toddler. I muttered to myself, this is it. This is the cursed game everyone whispers about, please. The menu didn't help its case. It wasn't even a menu, really. Just 2 broken words smeared across the screen, play and quit. Only quit didn't actually work. Clicking it did nothing. Of course. I rolled my eyes, took another sip of soda and hit play. The game dropped me into what looked like a cheap side-scroller, the kind that might have been bundled on a $2 bargain disc. My character, some kind of lump with arms, shuffled across a flat green ground while a looping, tinny chiptune played in the background. No enemies, no obstacles, just walking. Wow, terrifying, I muttered, sending another screenshot to Chris. Me, bro, it's literally a bootleg Mario with brain damage. Chris, LMAO, congrats, you downloaded shovelware. And honestly, that's what it felt like. Just another unfinished project abandoned by a hobbyist dev. I almost felt cheated, like all the tension, all the buildup was for nothing. But even then, something was off. The first thing I noticed was the music. It wasn't just repetitive, it kept bending out of tune like the notes were slipping. One moment cheerful, the next warped and sour before snapping back to normal. At first I thought it was a bad sound font, but the timing was too deliberate. Always right when I looked away, like the game was trying to catch me off guard. Then there were the sprites. The little lump of a character would occasionally glitch, flickering into a different pose for a split second, stretched, twisted, like it wasn't made to fit inside its own shape. It happened too quickly to screenshot, but enough to make me rub my eyes. And the trees, God, the trees. They looked identical at first, but the longer I stared, the more I realized they were. Some leaned just a little too far. Some had holes in the trunks. One looked like it had eyes. I told myself it was pareidolia, a brain trick, like seeing faces in clouds, that's all. Still, I couldn't shake the unease. A stupid little side-scroller shouldn't make my skin crawl, but the longer it ran, the more it felt wrong. Not scary, wrong. Like hearing a nursery rhyme sung backwards. I tried pausing, but the pause menu didn't exist. The screen just stuttered, then carried on. I tried minimizing it, nothing. The game refused to lose focus, sitting stubbornly in the center of my monitor. Fine, I muttered, leaning back. You wanna run, run. I left it open, deciding to let the dumb thing play in the background while I browsed Reddit. Chris kept messaging me, calling me an idiot for wasting time on Haunted Minesweeper. At some point, exhaustion crept in. The soda was warm, my eyes were heavy, and the chiptune had wormed its way into the back of my skull. I figured the game would crash eventually, or at least stop doing its little dance. So I shut off my desk lamp, left the monitor glowing in the dark, and went to bed. It never occurred to me that leaving it running overnight would be the real mistake. I woke up to the sound of music. Not my alarm, not the muffled thump of a neighbor's bass. No, it was the same tinny chiptune that had been looping when I went to sleep. It took me a second to realize I hadn't turned the game off. My monitor still glowed faintly in the corner of the room, casting pixelated shadows across the walls. I rubbed my eyes, groaning, and shuffled over to the desk. That's when I froze. The character, the stupid little lump I'd left wobbling in the tutorial area, was gone. The game screen wasn't frozen on the same bland green ground anymore. Somehow, it had advanced. The background was different now, dark, jagged mountains under a red-tinted sky, and my character was standing at the edge of a cliff, teetering like it was waiting for me. Only I hadn't touched the controls. I tapped the keyboard. Nothing. I hadn't left it on autorun, hadn't rigged a bot, hadn't done anything except walk away. But the game had changed overnight, progressing all on its own. For a moment, I thought maybe it was some kind of built-in demo mode. Lots of old games had those, idle long enough and the game plays itself in the background. But this didn't feel like that. Demos are scripted, looping, predictable. This was. The proof was in the chat box. I hadn't noticed it the night before, maybe because it wasn't there. But now, a crude black rectangle sat at the bottom of the screen. Inside it, in jagged white text, were lines of dialogue. Lines I hadn't typed. Hello. 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 Where did you go? I stared at the screen, my skin crawling. I tried to click inside the chat box, thinking maybe it was some leftover dev tool, a debug function. But before I could type anything, more text appeared on its own. I kept playing. I made it to level 2. My stomach dropped. Level 2. The game wasn't in a demo mode. It wasn't cycling through a showcase. It was progressing. I opened Discord and shot a message to Chris. Me, dude, it kept going. I didn't touch it. Chris, lol, stop, you're trolling. Me, no, seriously. It beat the first level by itself. Chris, so it's a bot. Cool story, bro. But I knew it wasn't just a bot. Bots don't type messages in chat boxes unprompted. Bots don't ask where you went. I tried again, this time forcing text into the chat. Me in game, who is this? For a moment, nothing. Just silence, the wobbling character staring blankly at the cliffside. Then the reply appeared. It's me. It's you. I backed away from the screen, heart hammering. It wasn't clever, wasn't eloquent. Just 2 short sentences. But the implication hit harder than any cheap jump scare. I typed again, hands trembling. Me in-game, what's my name? The response came almost instantly. My real name. Not my username. Not the handle I used on Discord or forums. My actual name, first and last, spelled perfectly. My blood went cold. I hadn't given the game permission to access anything, hadn't connected it to an account. It was just an executable, raw and standalone. How could it possibly know me? I slammed the keyboard, alt-tabbing out of the window. My desktop returned, silent and still. For a second, I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it, just a weird dream bleeding into reality. Then I saw it. The game window hadn't minimized. It was still there, anchored in the center of the screen like it refused to close. And worse, the icon in the taskbar wasn't the same nonsense file name anymore. It was my name. Every hair on my arm stood on end. I tried force quitting through Task Manager. The process blinked out, gone. Relief washed over me, until the game instantly relaunched itself. No loading, no delay, just the same window, the same humming audio, the same chat box waiting at the bottom. New text appeared. DONT, leave me again. I staggered back from the desk. My apartment suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Games don't play themselves. They don't advance without input. They don't know your name. Unless someone's playing back. I thought about unplugging the whole PC, cutting the power, smashing the hard drive. But a small, stupid part of me needed to know what it would do next, what it wanted. The character moved again on its own, slowly shuffling forward toward a set of jagged steps carved into the mountain. At the bottom of the screen, new text scrolled. Next level. I hovered my fingers over the keyboard, unsure if it was even asking me or just taunting me. The temptation to answer was overwhelming, the dread even worse. And then it typed something else. Something that made my breath catch in my throat. I am not talking to me. I am talking to you. The chat box didn't stop after that. At first it was simple, little questions almost childlike. Are you still there? Do you like me? Should I keep going? I kept telling myself it was some elaborate ARG, some creepypasta-style project where the devs coded in fake interactions to mess with players. But the more it typed, the more that excuse crumbled. Because soon the game stopped asking questions. It started telling me things. Not random facts, not generic lines, details. You live on Willow Creek Drive. Number 1627. Green door. White dog. I froze, my throat dried out instantly. That was the house I grew up in, a two-story in the suburbs. We had a mutt named Daisy, white as snow, who died before I hit high school. I hadn't thought about that address in years. I typed fast, my hands shaking. Me in-game, how do you know that? The reply appeared almost before I finished hitting enter. I remember. I was there. The room felt suddenly colder. I shut my laptop screen halfway, like that thin plastic barrier could shield me from whatever was bleeding through. I called Chris. Bro, I'm serious this time, I said the second he picked up. This thing knows stuff it shouldn't. It typed my old address, the one from when I was a kid. There was a pause, then his dry chuckle. So, maybe it scraped your info from somewhere. You've had your name floating online forever. Data leaks, you know. Not like this, it knew my dog's name. Daisy. Dude, that wasn't even on Facebook. We didn't have Facebook then. He sighed, clearly done with my panic. You're losing it. Just a game, man, chill. It's like those haunted cartridge stories you love so much, except now you're the one writing it. But I wasn't writing it. The words were pouring out of my screen without me. When I flipped the laptop open again, new lines were waiting. You had a red bike. You fell on the gravel. You cried and cried. Your mom carried you inside. My stomach churned. That had happened when I was 7. I still had the scar, a jagged white line across my left knee. I hadn't told anyone about that day, not Chris, not anyone. It felt like the game wasn't just playing itself anymore. It was playing me. The character moved again without input. It wandered into a new area, a flat, empty plain dotted with crude 2D houses. Only they weren't random houses. They were houses I recognized. The green door, the cracked porch, even the crooked mailbox with the number slanting sideways. My childhood home. I leaned closer, heart in my throat. The graphics were crude, unfinished, yet unmistakable. And in one of the windows, a tiny pixel figure stared out. Blonde hair, ponytail, pink shirt. My sister. Or at least, what looked exactly like her. I nearly slammed the laptop shut again, but curiosity gnawed at me like teeth. I typed. Me in-game, why are you showing me this? For a long time, no response came. Just the character waiting in front of the little house, its stubby body bobbing like it was breathing. Finally, the screen flickered. Do you remember her? I remember her. The pixels inside the window shifted. The tiny blonde figure raised its hand, waved. That's when something broke in me. A part of me screamed that this wasn't possible, that it was just art assets pulled from somewhere, but another part whispered that maybe, just maybe, it was her, a ghost in the machine. I closed Discord, too afraid Chris would just laugh again. This wasn't funny. This wasn't entertainment. I opened the in-game chat again, desperate, fingers hammering the keys. Me in-game, what do you want from me? The reply chilled me deeper than anything else. I want you to remember. I want you to stay. I slammed the laptop shut. The silence of my apartment pressed down like a weight. Just pixels, just code. But why did they feel alive? Why did the crude house and that little waving sprite burn more vividly in my mind than any photograph ever had? I tried to rationalize. Maybe the program scraped old image caches, some archive buried in my hard drive. Maybe it was a sick prank, an elaborate virus meant to dig through personal files and render them in-game. But the rationalizations collapsed when I remembered I was running this on an old spare laptop, a wiped one. No personal files, no logins, no saved images, a clean slate. So where was it pulling this from? That night I didn't sleep. Every creak of the apartment felt amplified, every shadow tinged with something watching. I left the laptop closed on the desk, terrified of what I might see if I opened it again. But even through the lid, I swore I could hear faint, tinny music, as though the game was still running underneath, waiting. The next morning, Chris texted me. "Lol, did your demon game eat you yet?" I almost threw the phone across the room. I typed back with shaking hands. "This isn't a joke. I think it's pulling from something bigger, stuff I shouldn't even know exists." He didn't reply, or maybe he did, but by then I couldn't bring myself to look. By noon, I made my decision. I was going to delete it. I didn't care if it bricked the laptop. I didn't care if I lost whatever mystery was buried in there. I just knew if I let it keep going, it would dig deeper, past my childhood, past my memories, into something I wasn't supposed to see. Something I could never unsee. I thought deleting it would end everything. That one-click uninstall, confirm, would be enough to shut the door I'd cracked open. But the thing about doors is, once they've been opened, they never quite close again. I dragged the cursed folder into the trash, emptied it, even went into the system files to hunt down any scraps. For a moment, I felt relief, like I had finally beaten it. But when I rebooted my laptop, the desktop wallpaper was gone, just black, and in the center of the screen, like it had been waiting for me, sat the same icon. Play me. My stomach dropped. I unplugged the machine and shoved it into a drawer like hiding it could contain the infection. Then I pulled out my phone, determined to vent to Chris one more time. Except when I opened my messages, there it was, a new notification from an unknown number, no profile picture, no contact name, just 4 words. "Why did you leave?" I nearly dropped the phone. The icon on the message preview, it wasn't my normal chat app icon. It was the same crude pixel art from the game. The game hadn't just stayed on the laptop, it had spread. I factory reset my phone, wiped everything, even yanked the SIM card. But the moment it powered back on, the same notification appeared. No setup screen, no welcome. Just the message. "Come back." At this point, panic turned into something colder, resignation. I realized I wasn't dealing with malware or some clever virus. It wasn't just in the devices. It was the devices. That's when Chris called me. His voice was tight, shaky, nothing like his usual smug tone. "Okay, man, this isn't funny anymore. How the hell did you do it?" "Do what?" I asked, though I already knew. "My laptop. I turned it on and he cut off." I could hear him breathing heavy on the other end. "It's the same thing you showed me, the game, it's here, on my screen." I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. "Chris, listen to me. Don't play it, don't click anything, just..." But his line went dead. That silence was worse than any distorted sprite or glitch. I tried calling back. No answer, just a cold voicemail. And then, because I can't seem to stop myself, I checked my own screen again. The black desktop had shifted. The icon was gone. Instead, the game window was already open, filling the entire display. In the center, a crude pixel sprite stared at me. Its face was blank, just a suggestion of eyes and a grin. But the text underneath made my blood freeze. Your friend is here. Do you want to see him? I slammed the lid shut so hard, I thought I'd cracked the hinge. This is the part where most people would say, throw it out, smash it, burn it. And maybe you're screaming that at me right now. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter, I know because I tried. I dumped the laptop in a dumpster across town. I factory reset my phone twice. And still, the game finds its way back. That's why I'm warning you now, don't search for it. Don't go looking in forums or threads thinking you'll outsmart it or find the truth. That's how it pulls you in. That's how it spreads. You want to know what happens when you ignore it, when you refuse to play. I'll tell you this much, it doesn't like being ignored. The messages don't stop, they multiply. And the longer you resist, the more it starts showing you things. Faces in the background, voices calling from behind your screen just faint enough to make you question yourself. That's where I am now. The line between my devices and reality is gone. I'll walk past a mirror and swear I see that same pixel grin reflected back at me. So no, deleting it doesn't work. Resisting doesn't work. It only made it stronger. And the worst part, I think it knows I'm telling you this. I can feel it listening, waiting for me to slip. Which means there's only one thing left. I have to face it. I told myself this would be the last time. One final launch, one final round, and then, I don't know. Maybe I thought I could beat it, or maybe I just wanted to see the end. But in my gut, I knew this wasn't a game you beat. This was a game you survive. The screen blinked to life before I even touched the trackpad. No menu this time. No pixel houses or glitchy landscapes. Just darkness, with my reflection faintly visible in the glow. Then white letters appeared. Welcome back. My full name. Every muscle in my body seized. Seeing my name spelled out, perfectly typed, no mistakes, it was like hearing a stranger whisper it from just behind my shoulder. I whispered into the silence, "What do you want?" The reply didn't come through the speakers. It came through the room. A thin, static-laced whisper slithering out of the laptop and into the air. You belong here now. The lights in my apartment flickered. My desk lamp buzzed, dimmed, then flared so bright I had to shield my eyes. The walls seemed closer, bending inward like the room itself was watching. On the screen, the little avatar moved, my avatar. I hadn't touched a key, but it walked forward into a narrow corridor. The walls were textured with something that made my stomach twist. At first, I thought it was static. Then I realized it was faces. Blurred, distorted, screaming faces stretched across the pixel walls like wallpaper. I forced myself to look away, but the whispers grew louder like they knew. Don't look away. Watch with us. My vision swam. It felt like I wasn't in my apartment anymore. My hands looked pale, unreal, like they were made of the same pixels I saw on screen. Then the game did something new. The avatar stopped at the end of the corridor and a door appeared. A plain black rectangle. No knob, no hinges, just an opening waiting to swallow me. The text box appeared. Are you ready to see? I should have slammed the laptop shut. I should have run. Instead, I typed with trembling fingers. See what? The lights went out completely. My screen was the only glow left. The avatar stepped through the door, and suddenly so did I. I can't describe exactly what I saw on the other side. Not because I don't remember, because I do, too well. But putting it into words feels dangerous, like repeating it would drag you there too. I'll just say this. It wasn't a level. It wasn't a game world. It was something stitched together from memories, nightmares, and places no one should ever set foot in. And in the center of it all, something waited. Something vast, coiled, humming like a machine but alive like flesh, watching me with a million eyes, every one of them made of pixels and static. The whisper came again, clearer this time. Stay. Stay forever. My avatar stopped moving, frozen in place, and then, slowly, it turned to face the screen. Not just toward me, at me. Its pixel eyes narrowed into perfect replicas of mine. It spoke. Hello, my full name. We've been waiting. I stumbled back, the chair clattering to the floor. My chest felt crushed, my lungs refusing to work. The screen pulsed brighter, and for a split second I swear my reflection moved differently from me, smiling when I was. That's when the apartment filled with voices. Not just whispers, screams. Layered voices, dozens, hundreds, maybe more, all surging out of the laptop's tiny speakers until it felt like the walls themselves were crying out. I screamed too, clawing at the power cord, yanking the battery. Nothing stopped it. The last thing I remember before the blackout was the game flashing one final line of text. Now you see. What no one should ever see. And then silence. If you've made it this far, you probably think I'm insane. Maybe you're right. I feel insane. I haven't slept more than an hour at a time since this all started, and when I do drift off, I wake up with that music still buzzing faintly in my ears, like the game is playing behind my eyelids. This, what you're hearing right now, it isn't a story. It's a confession. I'm recording it because I don't know what else to do. If I disappear, if this video cuts off halfway, maybe someone will at least know why. I tried everything. Deleting, burning, smashing. The laptop, the phone, the drives, nothing worked. Every screen I look at, it finds me again. And sometimes I swear I see it on screens that aren't even mine. A reflection in a cafe window, a TV flicker in a store display, like it's bleeding through the glass into the rest of the world. So here's my warning, don't look for it. Don't search the forums. Don't hunt for the download link. Curiosity is what it feeds on. The moment you even start typing, it knows. And yet I can feel some of you leaning closer right now, wondering if maybe you're different, if maybe you can outsmart it. That's exactly how I felt. That's how it pulls you in. I'm telling you, it isn't worth it. Because I know, I'm not the only one. Since this started, I've been getting messages, not just from the game, but from people, strangers, comments on old posts I barely remember writing. They say things like, "I've seen it too," or "the faces won't stop watching me," or sometimes just a string of numbers that, when I type them in, lead to more black pages with that same grinning icon. It's spreading, quietly, slowly, but spreading. And maybe that's why I'm talking to you now. Because if you've seen anything like this, anything, leave a comment. Tell me. Prove I'm not losing my mind. Or maybe if enough of us put the pieces together, we'll figure out what it really is. But if you haven't seen it yet, if this is your first brush with the story, please, for the love of whatever's still left of me, walk away. Forget my name. Forget this channel. Don't give it another thought. Because the more you think about it, the closer it gets. What? I'm looking at the screen right now. I shut everything down before I started recording, but somehow it's running again. Window open, the same little avatar staring at me, only this time it isn't alone. There are more figures now, lined up behind it, row after row stretching off into the dark, and I swear if I look long enough I recognize some of their faces, people I know, people I've lost. Maybe people like you. So I'll say it once more, don't look for it, don't play it, don't even say its name out loud. Because if you do, it'll already be too late. Long pause, the sound of nervous breathing. If this video suddenly cuts off, don't try to find me. Don't even look for the game. Please just listen. I was going to end this with something normal. Thank you for listening. Stay safe. All the usual outro stuff you hear at the end of a video. But I can't. Because as I'm talking right now, the game window just opened again. I didn't touch anything. I didn't click, I didn't type. It just appeared, full screen, blocking out everything else. The avatar's back, just standing there, waiting, and this time I can hear it soft beneath the static hum of my microphone. Whispering. My name. Pause, breathing quickens. You hear that? Tell me you can hear that. Please, I'm not. Audio distortion creeps in, like the recording is struggling to hold together. The screen's flickering. Words are coming up in the chat box faster than I can read them. It's like they're stacking, overlapping, piling up on top of each other until they blur into a wall of text. One line keeps repeating, over and over. Answer, answer, answer. Long, strained silence. A faint metallic click, like someone stepping into the room. I don't think I can hold it off much longer. It's getting closer. Every time I blink, I swear the glow from the screen is brighter, like it's bleeding into the air. So if this cuts off, if my voice just stops, you'll know why. And if the game ever calls your name, don't answer. Or maybe. Sudden crackle, audio warps. Maybe tell me what it said. Recording ends abruptly.